Number 1. Interview with National Public Radio, March 1986.
Peter Meyer.
The ancient Incas of South America were early organic farmers. One of their main crops was a cereal they called the mother grain. The product survives now under the name quinoa. That's Quinoa. It can be found in certain health food stores in the United States. Quinoa is nutritious, but it's also expensive. The main importer in the United States is the Quinoa Corporation of Boulder, Colorado. Steve Gorad, president of the company, still gets most of his quinoa from South America, where it grows in cold, arid areas 13,000 feet high in the Andes.
Quinoa was driven back into the remote areas of the mountains, but it was maintained by the Indian populations. It tastes like wild rice. I've heard it tastes like squash. I've heard it's got nutty overtones. But to me, it tastes like quinoa. You know, it's not a particularly exciting food like ice cream or a very fine cheese or wine. It's a grain. It's a very basic, staple food.
Do we really need another grain?
We certainly need the nutrition in this grain. The other thing that I would say about it is that in this country, some people think that we're in a jeopardy situation in that we're relying upon some very highly specialized crops. The kinds of wheat that we use are limited in number, and most of them are hybrids. And hybrids tend to be very sensitive to changes in soil conditions or weather conditions. Quinoa is like going back a couple of thousand years. It has not been hybridized, and there are several thousand varieties of the stuff. So all of the very primitive genetic material is still available, and that makes it a very adaptable crop.
The Incas used to eat this food, and then it fell into decline. The Japanese ate it during World War II, but now consider it to be basically a poor people's food. Why the rise and fall of it?
The only rise was during the time of the Inca. They found quinoa in mummy tombs that were dated back some 5,000 years. And the fall came when the Spanish invaded South America, promoting their grains, which basically was wheat. You can't find quinoa in a restaurant in South America. In the cities, it's also looked upon as poor people's food. And in fact, there's a prejudice against it. It's dirty, it's for poor people, it's for chickens. And it's very similar to the situation that we had in this country with peanuts, because peanuts were once considered the food of black slaves, and white people wouldn't touch them. The only people that are interested in it in South America are the scientists, because they're the ones that see the nutrition in it, and they're faced with the problem of how are we going to get our people to eat this when there's such prejudice against it. And the fact of the matter is that they are very hopeful that quinoa will have a revival in South America because of what we're doing up here, because the gringos are eating it, and it's going to raise its status.
Mr. Gorad, do you eat this every day for breakfast?
I don't like it for breakfast. I eat it for lunch or dinner, just about every day. I also eat it for desserts. I took a rice pudding recipe and I just substituted quinoa for the rice, and I got something really delicious.
Steve Gorad imports quinoa.